Hey, it's KK. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Katie. I make lifestyle content and I upload videos every Sunday and sometimes bonus videos on Tuesdays. Halloween is coming up super soon, so in today's video, I'm sharing 5 super easy DIY Halloween costumes. This video is super exciting because it is a collab with a friend of mine on YouTube. Her name is Stephanie Kondo. Stephanie makes videos similar to mine, and over on her channel, she is sharing some last-minute Halloween costumes. They're super creative, so go and check out her video. I'll have her channel linked below, and don't forget to subscribe to Stephanie. Her videos are so entertaining. She is so funny and so creative. I know you guys are gonna love her channel, so go show her some love. Tell her I sent you. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so for the first Halloween costume, I was a Gumball Machine. It was really easy to make, and I had almost everything to make this already. So I started off with just a white t-shirt. I got this one at Michael's, and I think it was like $2, so it was super inexpensive. And then I grabbed this Valentine's Day cookie jar top, but you can seriously use anything that is a circular shape that you can find in your house, and I just traced that with a pencil to create the outline of a circle. And then I grabbed these multicolored pom-poms. I also got these from Michael's, and I ended up using 2 packs for the whole costume. So I just poured those out, spread them around all over the t-shirt, and then I was ready to hot glue them to fill in the circle. Okay, so once it was done, I set that aside to dry, and I was ready to make the pom-pom headband. I went to Michael's in search of a headband that had nothing on it, and all I could find was these braided ones, so I just peeled off the braiding, I guess you could call it, and cut off the sides and used that, and I hot glued the remaining pom-poms to the headband to make it look like there was gumballs on the top of my head when I put on the costume. That was finished, it looked great, and I set that aside to dry, and then I started on the final piece of this costume. So for this, I just grabbed a piece of blue construction paper, cut it into a square, and then wrote 25 cents and added some other little details, trimmed the side, and it was ready to go. I ended up just taping this to a red tutu. It worked perfectly fine, and I was ready to put on the costume. And there we go, the Gumball Machine costume is complete. I think this looks super cute. Everything came together really well, and I just put on some black leggings with the tutu. Alright, so the next costume might have been my favorite. For this one, I was a Starbucks cup, and I thought it turned out super cute. I just started off with a random piece of cardboard from a box. This can be any shape or size, just depending on how you want the cup sleeve to look. And then I printed out this Starbucks logo and cut it out. Then I set that aside to dry, and I was ready to make the straw headband. I just grabbed a piece of green construction paper and then one of those headbands, again from Michael's, the weird braided one. I just peeled off the braiding, cut the sides, and I rolled the piece of construction paper, temporarily taped it down, and then I hot glued the sides and hot glued the middle, took off the piece of tape, and then finally I hot glued it onto the headband. Set the straw aside to dry and grabbed my Starbucks cup sleeve again. I flipped it over and I hole punched the sides and added some string because it was not quite long enough to fit around my entire torso, so I just took a hole puncher, punched holes in both sides. Took this string that I found in my craft cabinet, threaded it through both sides, and then I set that aside so that when the time did come for me to put on the costume and put everything together, I could just tie it up and it would be perfect. And there we go, the costume was complete. I just held up a Starbucks cup, put on some white shoes and a long white t-shirt, and everything came together. My favorite part was by far the straw headband. Okay, so for the next costume, I was Russell, the character from Up, and this one was probably the most fun to make, and I thought it turned out looking amazing. So I started off by making Russell's Boy Scout sash. So I have this brown felt that I picked up at Michael's, Basically what I did is I just unwrapped this, unfolded it, and then I folded it back together. I just said folded like a million times, but I folded both sides in and then folded that in half. Then I just flipped that over and bring the two sides together and stapled them. This might not have been the best way, but honestly it worked perfectly and everything stayed together, so I think it worked pretty well. Okay, so the next part was probably the most time consuming. It was a very tedious process, but basically I printed out a whole bunch of random Boy Scout patches from Google Images, and then I had the Wilderness Explorer logo for the hat, and I just went to town cutting everything out. This is definitely sped up, but to be honest, it took me about 15 to 30 minutes to cut out every single circle, and my circles were far from perfect, but everything turned out okay in the end, and it's okay if you're like me and cannot cut out circles or cut in straight lines, or draw in straight lines for that matter. Okay, so finally, everything was done, all the circles were cut out, and I just placed them where I wanted them to be on the sash and used some hot glue to attach them. And yes, my hot glue gun has definitely seen much better days, but it worked, and it got me through all 5 of these costumes, and every single one required hot glue. Once that was finished, I set it aside to dry, and it was time to get to work on Russell's hat. I picked up this yellow hat at Michael's. It was super inexpensive, and then I took my Wilderness Explorer logo that I had printed out and used hot glue yet again to glue it on the hat. And voila, the Russell from Up costume was complete. I put on the sash, a yellow shirt, and I also tied on an orange scarf because in the movie, Russell has an orange scarf, and then I put on these black boots. And the next part is a little extra, but I went to the grocery store and had them blow up 5 different balloons that were different colors just to enhance the theme of Up throughout the costume, and I think everything came together so perfectly. Alright, so the second to last costume is a pineapple. This one was probably the easiest to make and required the least amount of materials, so I'm just going to hop right in and show you guys how to make it. I started off with a yellow shirt. This one I got at a Halloween store, and I just grabbed a Sharpie and started drawing triangles all over the shirt. In the beginning, I meant for the triangles to all be the same shape and look identical, but it definitely did not turn out that way. Some were thinner and some were thicker than others. And I got a little lazy at the end and ended up just using glasses on either sides of the shirt to hold it apart so I didn't have to stretch the shirt while I drew my triangles. And there we go, the shirt was complete, and now it was time to move on to the pineapple crown. I started by rolling up a piece of construction paper, taping it, and then I just went all around the top and cut in straight lines, which I ended up folding back at the end. So once that first layer was complete, I rolled up another piece of green construction paper and repeated the process again, cutting it in half and cutting all the way around the top, and then I did that one more time and hot glued that whole thing onto the headband, and the costume was ready to go. I just put on some black leggings and black flip-flops with this, held up a pineapple, and everything turned out looking pretty good. Okay, so the last and final costume was a cactus. This one was also pretty easy to make and didn't require very many materials, so I'm just gonna get right into it. I started off with a green shirt, again, from Michael's. They seriously have almost every color you could think of. And then I also picked up some white pipe cleaners from Michael's and cut those into about 4-inch strips. Alright, so once that was all complete, I began actually putting the pipe cleaners onto the shirt. I just folded them in half and used hot glue to stick them right onto the shirt. And I got kind of sick and tired of holding up the pipe cleaners for them to dry, so I used random things like a flashlight, tape, or any other things. Also a lint roller, which is literally the most random thing, but I used things like that to hold up the pipe cleaners while they were drying. And also I just chose to do the front of the shirt and the front sleeves, but you can do it all around or just the front and the side. There's so many ways to make this your own and be creative. So then I took this fake flower that I had in my craft cabinet and hot glued it to yet another one of those headbands from Michael's. And there you go, the final costume. The cactus is complete. I love that the white pipe cleaners are 3D in a way, and it just makes the costume look so much more realistic. Alright, that is it for today's video. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to go check out Stephanie's video and subscribe to her channel. Let me know what your favorite costume was in the comments section. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys. Mwah.